Yes, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the May meeting of the Strategic Planning Committee. Item 1 on the agenda. Apologies for absence. An appointment of substitute members, please.
Through you, Chair, we have apologies for absence from Councillor Bob Purser and Councillor Keith Holland-Delamere, Councillor Paul Clark with Councillor Sue Sharps substituting.
Thank you indeed, and thank you for the substitution. Item 2, declaration of interest. Members are asked to declare any interest and the nature of that interest in any items posted on this agenda. Take that as a no. Those that are here on the 23rd of April, do you confirm that the minutes presented to you are a true record, and I will sign them accordingly? Okay, thank you. Item 4, Chairman's announcements. Under the openness of, Local Government Bodies Regulation 2014, members of the public or those party to the meeting are permitted to film, broadcast or report on the meeting subject to the efficient running of the meeting not being affected. Only those people who have registered in line with the committee's speaking procedure can address the committee. Those speaking are not permitted to ask questions of either members or officers. Members of the public are requested not to call out during the committee's discussion on any item. All speakers will have 5 minutes in which to make their statement. Participants addressing the planning committee will be advised when they have 60 seconds of their allocated time remaining and will be expected to cease talking immediately on being advised that their time is up. Speakers may be asked to remain seated after they have addressed the committee to answer questions from the planning committee members. There are no planned fire drills today, so if the alarm does sound, evacuation instructions will be given by Democratic officers to my right, and the assembly point is at the bottom of the steps of the mount, which is the big green hilly bit over there. Could electronic devices please be switched off or onto silent mode? For those members using laptops, could I ask that they press F1 on their machines and a blue light will come on indicating the sound is muted. The meeting is being webcast on the council's corporate YouTube channels. Therefore, when addressing the meeting, can you use your microphones? That covers that bit of it. Some announcements myself. I would like to extend my thanks to outgoing members from this committee. That's Councillors Rosie Herring and Daniel Stone, plus substitute member Stephen Clark. I welcome new members, Councillors Keith Holland-Delamere, Paul Clark, plus substitute members Andy Kilbride, Wendy Randall and Sue Sharps, who's attended today, which I thank her. The municipal calendar was approved recently at full council and members have been advised of these dates. I've agreed to a change in the running order of today's agenda with agenda item 8, which will be brought forward to be first considered and the rest following in numeric order. Also, items 6 and 7 are adjacent sites, with the proposed conditions being the same for both. So the case officer will make only one presentation and we will consider them together, but we'll take a vote on each application separately. Finally, please remember as a committee, we are considering solely the scope of the applications before us and confined to the red line defining these applications. So I urge you all to concentrate on these. For the benefit of those on YouTube that are watching, I'll introduce the top table. On my far right is Diana Davis from Democratic Services, Catherine Hall, Legal, Simon Ellis, Manager of Planning, Nikki Scaife, excuse me, Head of Major Projects, Dan Callis, who will present the first item, and Rebecca Grant on the end as the case officer will present other items. I think that's all from me. We'll move on to item 8 on the agenda, which, yes, carry on.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Councillor Holland-Delamere is actually here, but he hasn't been able to sit on the committee because he hasn't been able to complete his training.
That's true, sorry. Apologies, the training wasn't arranged in the time. Thank you. So yes, item 8, Dan Callis, if you'd like to present that, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just share my screen. Okay, thank you, Chair. Sorry about this delay. So item 8 is an application for reserve matters for 4 dwellings as part of the ongoing Toast to South urban extension development. The application is for all reserved matters within the area outlined in red. The area is adjacent to the easternmost entrance roundabout from the Relief Road, which you can see on the plan on the screen. The land to the east is earmarked for employment development as part of the SUE. The application site has been designated for housing since the grant of the outline planning permission. It was left out of the application for the adjacent housing, which you can see being constructed on the aerial photograph, because the original design code for this part of the site indicated that this parcel could have been utilised for employment development in lieu of another area up nearer to the primary school. However, the proposal was always contrary to the approved land use parameters plan and has since been regularised and clarified via an approval of an amended design code. Just to show you some photographs of the site, these photos side by side are sort of almost like a panoramic view of the site taken from the eastern boundary. You can see the adjacent properties which are substantially complete now. The house on the right-hand side is actually, it's complete, but it is acting as a show home. And then the houses which abut the western boundary of the site and side onto the site, substantially complete, but not yet occupied. As you can see, the site is relatively flat. You can just about make out the Relief Road, which is on the left-hand side. And then the roundabout is sort of almost like behind you in this image. In terms of the site layout, so the proposal is for 4 houses, all fronting out onto the main Spine Road and Relief Road. There's a mixture of accesses, either from the shared private drive for the southernmost plot in this direction, driveway access straight off the estate road to the north, and then a shared drive serving the 2 middle properties coming in off the main Spine Road. The proposal is for 4 4-bedroom houses. They're all detached. There are no affordable housing units within this parcel. Each property is provided with a minimum of 2 parking spaces per unit plus garaging on top. There is also a small area of public open space in the top corner, which I'll come on to again shortly. In terms of materials, the house on the corner would be faced in render. There is a stone-faced unit, natural stone, to match other stone units that have been built on the site, which is the brown unit you can see here. And then the other 2 units would be faced in red brick under a slate roof. In terms of boundary treatments, most of the frontages would be enclosed with either horizontal estate railings or vertical railings. Garden boundaries would be enclosed by 1.8 metre brick walls. These are the 4 house types that are proposed. There's a mixture of Georgian, Victorian and vernacular elevational treatments, all of which are fully in accordance with the approved design code. In terms of the landscaping, the small area of open space within the red line is the area on the corner here, which helps provide an attractive green frontage as you enter into the site from the roundabout. And this plan also gives an indication as to the soft landscaping treatment in front of the proposed properties, again providing an attractive approach into the development from the Relief Road. With regard to updates, members' attention is drawn to the written updates and particularly the objection from Councillor McCord. In addition, the report states that an update on surface water drainage will be provided. However, no further submission has been made by the applicant to address the LLFA's comments. As stated in the report, the application can still be determined because surface water drainage is covered by conditions in the outline planning permission. The recommendation is that delegated authority be granted to officers to approve the application subject to the conditions outlined in the report. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Callis. It's now your opportunity as members to have any questions of the officer at this point, please. Councillor Pritchard.
Thank you, Chair. As ward member, one of the questions that keeps coming to the forefront is the relief road. And I appreciate that there's 4 additional houses here, and also it's part of the much larger development. But one of the criteria with the large development was the end-to-end relief road should be completed before a significant amount, I think it was roughly about 800 to 1,000 houses, 1,013 houses, which in fact, at the moment, the developer actually is in excess of that. So why should we be looking at the situation of approving this particular application when in fact the developer hasn't met the requirements of the previous applications?
Mr. Callis.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So yeah, just as with regard to an update on the relief road, the latest I have from the developer is that their negotiations with National Highways to get technical approval to commence on the roundabout at the A43 end are well advanced. They're hoping to actually make a start shortly after the Grand Prix, so at some point this summer. They've been very protracted negotiations in order to obtain that approval. It's not, to be fair, say it's not just the developer who's taken a long time. The process has taken a long time. The developer has constructed the road as far as they physically can up to that point. The reason it's not completed is because the technical approval hasn't been given to complete it. In terms of this application, obviously the remit of material considerations in what we have before us to determine is whether they are acceptable in accordance with the design code and those factors. The threshold for completion of the relief road is a separate matter covered by the outline planning permission conditions, and it would be a matter for the council's enforcement team as to whether they deemed it appropriate to take enforcement action against that breach which has occurred.
But I once again, when you think of it, we're now looking at the relief road being actually completed possibly by about the middle of next year, which seems absolutely ludicrous. And we're asked to provide, or should we approve once again, some additional houses in this particular area that are not subject to the original requirement on the developer. I appreciate that perhaps, we're looking at approving the 4 houses in front of us. And I also appreciate that the relief road is probably a different matter. But having said that, I think it's very, very important indeed that we make a stance with regards to against the developer to ensure that they actually put an enormous amount of pressure on National Highways to get this link road, relief road completed, because until the link road is completed, we cannot undertake any of the further developments that the National Highways will do with regards to the Towcester Town Centre.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Okay, of course, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just to clarify, as Mr. Callis has mentioned, the application before members today is a separate matter to the relief road application. To that end, members are expected and required to consider the application before them today. Comments obviously understood regarding the relief road progress. An update has been provided, and members really do need to consider the merits or otherwise of the application in front of them today. Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Gonzalez de Savage.
Mr. Chairman, just a question to Dan, if I may, about the public open space or the area around those 4 houses or 2 houses, as far as I could see, definitely. Is it considered a public open space, or is it just frontage effectively for the gardens of those planned properties?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So the areas that I indicated on that last plan that were coloured in, essentially they would all be transferred as public open space. So they would be coming forward with the rest of the open space in the parks transferred to the town council for maintenance. And the reason that we've deliberately sought for those to be public open spaces so that there's some sort of public ownership over them that ensures that the gateway into the development is secured, and that attractive designed landscape is secured in perpetuity.
Through you, Chair. I saw that obviously there were some trees on the plan there, but didn't really indicate how large the actual piece of public open space was. It looked more like a sort of garden border than somewhere you could play football on or enjoy as open space without annoying the neighbours?
Yes, thank you. So it's more of a wide verge at this point. It's not a functional open space. It's more there for aesthetics. So yes, it is more like a wide road verge, just providing a bit of a setback from the housing and a bit of a softening for the approach into the development.
And is that part of the total public open space amount, if you like, for that development area or not? Or is that just an incidental piece that's been added?
It's an incidental piece in the grand scheme of things. There are many hectares of open space overall through the development.
It's not part of the calculation as such.
No, I think because the site is so large, it's generally just come forward on a design-led basis as to achieving, what's the best outcome for the development, really. So
thank you.
Councillor Sharps, please.
Thank you, Chair. You said initially when going through the report that this site was initially located for commercial use for shops, so on. I take it from what you said previously that has been reallocated. If so, is that already in build at the moment?
So this particular parcel was always allocated for housing from the outset. There was, as I said, a bit of discrepancy in the original iteration of the design code for part of the site that said it could have been used for employment in lieu of another bit somewhere else. But ultimately, we've got the land on the opposite side of the road, which is allocated for employment, and that's currently, we're in the process of trying to bring that forward now that the development is becoming more complete in that area. So, as I said, this has always been intended that this corner would be housing.
Okay, and a separate question, sorry. So the area for commercial use is under planned development currently. It doesn't have site plan on it.
There's no detailed proposals at the moment. It's a parcel that's allocated, and that will come forward at hopefully some point in the near future.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Parker, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just going back to the highway, the Relief Road, I understand it's a separate application and all the rest of it. But you gave an update there, Dan, to say the hope to start it sometime after the Grand Prix. I presume we're talking about this year's Grand Prix. Do you think we could get something in writing from them so we actually have got something we can hang a hook on this, so the people of Towston know when this is coming?
Point of order, Chair. I believe that we've been told that we can't talk about the Relief Road.
Through you,
No.
Chair, thank you. It's not so much that members can't talk about it, it's that it just shouldn't form part of the consideration for the application itself.
Yeah, which is what I said right at the beginning. I understand what you said, and it's not part of this application. Could we get something in writing, do you think, Dan, so we can actually see what it is? And if it carries on, we could perhaps pass that letter to enforcement and things like that.
Yeah,
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah. Through you, Chair. We have had email correspondence with the developer that, essentially sort of has provided that update. Our enforcement team have been involved in constantly monitoring the situation, so they are abreast of the situation, and the breach, the extent of breach, the extent of any likely harm and the timescale for that, etc. So the enforcement team is fully across this.
Councillor Humphries, please.
Thank you for your presentation through you, Chair. You mentioned that the one of the plots will be faced in natural stone and the others will be 3 different architectural types. If I've understood this correctly, perhaps I haven't, but if I have, is that normal for an entrance to a sustainable urban extension to have such a variety of styles, or perhaps there are marginal differences? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, so it's consistent with the design approach that's been taken on this site to date, and the design code that's been approved. So we're over 1,000 houses into it. The character and appearance of the house types that I showed you on the screen fully reflects, I mean, that they are essentially the same house types that we've approved dozens of times already. So there is consistency with the character of what's immediately around them and the mix of materials, and therefore the sort of visual interest and the character that has resulted from that in the development. Yeah.
Councillor Russell, please.
Thank you, Chair. Is it possible, please, for officers to keep the map or display of what we're discussing in rather a convoluted way on the screens rather than just a blank area with somebody's name on it?
In defence of the officer, I'd ask him to do what he's actually doing. The issue you have is when YouTube are watching it, you end up with the committee debating something in the bottom corner of the screen, and it becomes very difficult for viewers then. So we balance one against the other. We were trying it this way. I looked at the committee. I mean, I think we'll do it this way this time and see how we get on, if that's all right with you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for your input, Councillor Russell.
Officers can obviously always revert back to plans if members have a pertinent question.
Yes, Councillor Manners.
Thank you, Chair. Dan, what guarantees have we got that they will actually build that employment, take up the employment land at the top of the site?
So the Section 106 sets out the process that the developer would have to go through in terms of marketing that land for employment. Obviously, there's the design code that's already been approved, which indicates, the sort of what's expected of it. But yes, they would. It's a while since I've read it, but my understanding is that section of the 106 requires the developer to go through a marketing process. If at the end of that they can demonstrate that, for whatever reason it's unviable, then we would have to review the position. But essentially, as it's set from the outset, the requirement is to deliver the employment.
And all the indications are that they're going to continue with that?
Not heard anything otherwise. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. There are no speakers on this item, so we move into the debate on this. This is for members to continue the debate, or is there a debate? Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. Plots 1110 and 1111 do not meet the required standard according to highways. Is this correct? And has that been responded to? I know we've got a response here from highways with no objection, but there is an issue here in terms of the access areas there. Can you, Dan, are you able to confirm that at all? Thank you.
Yeah. Through you, Chair. So I think it's hopefully covered in paragraph 710, where it says comments from the local highway authority relating to the shared access width have been addressed in the amended plan submitted by the applicant.
Yeah, support you. I was saying, remember, it's just they'd made the access actually wider.
It was originally a single width driveway, and it's been widened to a shared driveway width.
To a shared driveway.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any more debate questions, or do we want to move to a vote, or do we have a proposal? Councillor Sharps, join in, please.
Is it at all possible that we could hold this over until the economic plan has been in? That's my possible thoughts on this.
On what basis, Councillor Sharps?
On the basis that it's not currently needed.
Not.
I have
bothering
no,
you.
I have no objections to the plan as yet, or as in place of me, but it harms nobody as I can see it, but benefits no one equally. And yet, as we have a situation where we may not get the perceived economic benefit from the shops to the estate, which would be a benefit, that would be my particular suggestion.
Any answers to that? Go on. Dan?
Thank you, Chair. I think I would just reiterate that this parcel of land has always been and still is allocated for housing, whereas other uses such as employment or the local centre are on other separate parcels, which
That's not what I said. I didn't say make it economic. I said hold it back until the economic land is delivered.
I'm struggling. Sorry, I can't really see how the two would be in you.
Dan, Catherine will come in on this one for you. I'm struggling as well, but go on, Catherine.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate the sentiment insofar as there's some certainty not yet there in delivery of those elements of the programme for the site. I appreciate where that element's coming from. In terms of this application, it's for 4 properties on allocated housing on the site of land that is allocated for housing. And so an application has come forward, which we are discussing and debating this afternoon. To defer a decision on that while pending other practicalities across the site would need a good basis for doing so, a planning basis for doing so, not just as we want more certainty for delivery, for example. That wouldn't constitute a robust reason to do that on this occasion. The other side of that coin is, of course, all of the development programme is contained, I believe, in an outline planning application for this site. So it is part and parcel of that. So it's secured to that degree. And in that respect, we have certainty that these things are expected to come forward. Timetable and reality might be different in practice on the ground, but there is that reference within the outline application to those requirements. So I would suggest on this occasion there isn't a substantive planning ground to defer a matter on that basis.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Parker.
Sorry, I might be jumping ahead, but I propose we accept officers' advice.
Sir Pritchard.
Just a very quick one, Chair. Considering what has happened with regards to the regulations and also the intentions that we have to consider these 4 houses, I will actually vote in favour of it. But also, could I actually have it minuted of my concerns with regards to the lack of completion of the link road?
Okay, thank you. So you're seconding
I will
Councillor
second it, thank you.
Parker's proposal.
Yes.
Are we happy to go to a vote on the proposal? And if so, please show. Those against? Abstentions? I don't think there's any abstentions. That is carried then. Thank you very much indeed. So we will now change officers on my left. Thanks, Dan. Right, so thank you both all. So Rebecca's going to do items 5 and 6 on the agenda as a joint presentation. They're adjacent plots of lands and the conditions for each application is the same. Well, as I said, we'll take a separate vote at the end of the presentation. Oh, yeah, sorry about that. I've written down Rebecca. Yeah, let's forget that bit. It's Ransom Road. 217 houses, of which 11% are affordable. Rebecca.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So this is an application for residential development of 217 dwellings, landscaping, open space with associated infrastructure and works. So Ransom Road is a brownfield site of approximately 12 hectares. The site is 1 mile to the southeast of Northampton town centre. I'll just show you in context a little bit more. Immediately to the north is a former railway line, beyond which is the university campus to northeast and residential development to the northwest. To the southwest are existing commercial units, and directly to south is Delapree Park, which contains the registered Northampton Battlefield and Delapree Abbey, which is Grade 2 star listed. This site lies within the Delapree Conservation Area, not the application site. Public footpath runs along the eastern boundary, which links into other footpaths within the adjacent area. I'll just show you some photos of the site. So these are looking north from Ransom Road towards the university buildings and the new residential development. This is along the left-hand side is along Ransom Road, an existing commercial building which will be demolished. On the right-hand side of the existing properties in Cloughton Road. Just a few photos along Ransom Road, where the existing commercial units are located. This is further along Ransom Road, and which leads on to public footpath WH28, which runs along the eastern boundary of the site. And then the view on the right-hand side is again at the end of Ransom Road, and that's public footpath WH27, beyond which is Delapree Lake. And now this is a scheme, a previously submitted scheme in 2004, and it was for an application for residential developments within the site, up to 800 dwellings, and had a resolution to grant planning permission in 2004. The Section 106 agreement was never completed due to site constraints in relation to contamination and lack of financial viability within the scheme. It's interesting to note that this is for 800 dwellings, and it's a significantly high dense development. Access is taken from both Ransom Road and also from the north. So a number of representations have commented about the possibility of taking access from University Drive, as it's now known, for the submitted application. This does raise a number of issues, and if I just briefly outline those. Firstly, it is not part of the proposal and is not under consideration as part of the application. Secondly, University Drive is a private access and not adopted highway. It is understood that the university previously raised concerns with access through their campus and the security of students and staff. And then finally, policy M03 of the Northampton plan secures the former railway line as a future transport link running east-west, so providing a vehicular link would sever this potential transport link. So this is the layout that has been submitted to us. The majority of the dwellings are across the northern part of the site, with open space to the south, where this is due to contamination and it's not viable to build dwellings in this location. Pedestrian routes and linkages around the site itself, and also linking into the wider area. There are potential linkages to the north if the former railway line does become a transport link. And I'll just run through some of the house types and street scenes. So this is an example of some of the house types proposed. And then these are the indicative street scenes along the Spine Road. That's a continuation of the Spine Road. And then the proposed street scene along the northern edge of the development. And we've just got a couple of 3D visuals that's looking from east to west across the site, west to east, sorry, across the site.
Yeah, yes.
Hello. Apologies if I'm interrupting and if anybody can hear me. But the connection, I believe, has been lost to the chamber, so there is currently no sound or visual for people viewing. Thank you.